I just don't know why it had to end.
Friends, loved ones, I'd like to welcome all of you who have come to remember and pay tribute to our beautiful Marc Gasol, our perfect Wendigo. Thank you to everyone who is here to pay their respects, who has grown to love this man over the last decade and more, who has spent hundreds and hundreds of nights both supporting him and having him support us. Let us not feel sad that our time has ended. Let us be glad for the time we had. All good things come to an end. Flowers will fade, the sun goes down. But what will always last is the way we feel about those we love, the way we remember them, the way we honor them, and the way we boo the Grizzlies management. Now, to say a few words, one of the biggest supporters, lovers, defenders, apologists of Marc Gasol, a man he called Mark the Shark. I give you John Burr. John, please say a few words.
Friends, family members, pal especially, let's not think of this as a great loss, but as really that kingdom way up north, way up high, their game. Let's not think of this as Mark is gone.
please compose.
Mark is dead.
Does anyone have a tissue?
Get another Gasol.
There's no more Gasols. Oh, it's a scene.
We didn't even get a first round pick.
Close the casket.
We got Jonas Valanciunas. He's the worst defensive center.
Oh, no. Oh, there's a song.
He's not even swarthy. He's not swarthy at all. We got CJ Miles and DeLon Wright. Who are those guys? Why couldn't we pick those guys up in the offseason?
Brother John, it'll be okay.
No, it won't. It will not.
There's room for Jaren to grow.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, John. When the news came, I texted you. You were out of pocket. You didn't have internet. I texted you and I said it happened. Gasol to the Raptors.
Yeah, that's wild.
And you said, for what? And I said,
you said nothing.
For nothing.
You are 100% correct.
Like, what do we get? Nothing.
I thought this insane Pelicans tampering was really gonna lead to some really excellent shit for us.
Yeah.
And wow. I thought the prices looked like they were getting pretty high, and there was talk of, Rubio in a first, and I was like, you know what, this is going to be one of those deals that we can move on from and think at least we got blank for the greatest player in franchise history, Yeah, the greatest player comfortably in franchise history. Yeah, oh yeah, it's not close. I know people want to say Powell, but Powell did his damage as a Laker.
Oh yeah, no, there's
we didn't win a playoff game with Powell.
No, it's a Zach Randolph or Marc Gasol argument, and maybe
right.
If Mike Conley adds a little to his resume. No, this was a big loss for the franchise.
Yeah, and to the identity is I think the identity is well and truly gone, because I don't think Conley contributed much to the zeitgeist as a Grizzlies player.
So let's focus more. Let's reflect on Marc Gasol. What I was thinking back to my initial impressions of Marc Gasol. If you can remember that far, do you remember?
Big burrito. Oh yeah.
You remember? So what were your first thoughts when? I mean, obviously, so everyone's been talking about how the Memphis Grizzlies have never had a Gasol-less period. There was always a Gasol on the roster, which is sort of true because when they traded Powell, they only got Marc's rights. But so there was a moment where there wasn't a Gasol on the roster, but there was still a Gasol associated. Like we had the future rights. So it came over the next year. What were your first takes when you saw old Marc?
This will be hard to fathom considering what Marc is now and how now when Marc shoots, you're like, ooh. But for a while, and I'm not kidding, Marc never missed.
Well, his field goal percentage was incredible. His first half
it was like
years.
60% his second year. So for a while, we just had this fat kid, a fat child, who every time he got the ball scored. And I mean, I remember him being so. I became a Grizzlies fan when Hubie Brown was the coach.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't really have like a favorite player per se, like, and then I almost bailed when Jerry West retired.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was such a scary thing. Because Jerry West is awesome, and we brought on Chris Wallace, and that was so scary. And then when we traded Powell, like I was like the rest of us live it. Although now, can you imagine getting 2 first-round picks?
Although I specifically remember I was happy that Powell got traded, but the actual trade, yes, was horrifying and very upsetting.
Yeah, but now, I mean, it seems amazing.
Yeah, right. We got to.
What was at one time considered a gift to the Lakers and the worst trade in NBA history, that haul seems like Santa's full hefty bag. But so I've always, I guess probably because I'm pretty fat, I always liked fat players.
Yeah. And
I just really think like Marc Gasol is a transformational player to have on your team because of the way he plays.
Yeah.
So he instantly makes, and because of the way he plays, also because his game is also such a mental game that sometimes when the cogs around him aren't doing what he's doing, it can really look like flailing. And I understand why Gasol can be frustrating to some people because sometimes it just doesn't work. But when the Gasol engine is humming and all the pieces of the watch are doing what they're supposed to, it's like as good as basketball gets.
So I remember his first season, his rookie year, when he showed up, I fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Based on my frustrations with Powell. My frustrations with Powell was it seemed like he gave up at the end of games and the other team's big guys would body him and he would stop getting rebounds. They just push him away. So when Marc Gasol first showed up and he was gigantic, your words fat, he seemed like he got every rebound in traffic. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
Marc Gasol.
He was a very different type of player than
rookie
what he
Marc
is now.
Gasol is already a better rebounder than Powell. I love this guy. And it seemed like he was, as you said, a transformational guy. Just seeing him play his rookie year, it's like when Marc Gasol's on the court, this team's fine. This guy just, everyone just sticks to him and he just does stuff. So I was immediately smitten with Marc Gasol and he became, one of my all-time favorite players.
Right. He's also, outside of Tony Allen, probably the most with Tony, it's like almost like an affliction, like the will to win and the will to like get every ball and the will, all of that. But Marc was, when angry, motivated Marc is right up there with him.
Yeah. Do you have a specific favorite Marc Gasol memory?
Oh, absolutely. Bust his butt Marc is my all-time favorite basketball memory.
Oh, just when he's, were you saying when he smacks his hindquarters after a shot? Or?
Yeah. Specifically, him taking Blake Griffin to school over and over and over again while Zach Randolph is screaming, "Bust his butt, Marc."
Oh yeah. So good.
Marc, and we haven't seen this in a few years, but the Marc Gasol spin move was a thing for a while.
Yeah.
When he put his hip on you and spin, automatic bucket. It's just really also like specific moments. This is funny to me because this is a terrible moment. But I will always remember, because it's weird having your favorite player also being a guy that, like, I hated when Marc went to the free throw line in big moments.
Okay.
because if you end up looking at his numbers, it's not that bad. But when he did miss, like I recall a specific game. I'm trying to remember the opponent, but when he missed to lose the game, his despair over it was so overwhelming that it made him even more endearing, because he would like walk straight to the tunnel he was out.
Well, so that wearing his emotions on his sleeve has actually been one reason why some Grizzlies writers are in favor, or they think a bright side to Gasol leaving is, while this team is not super good and while this team's going to be mediocre for a while, having that his despair written on his face all the time out of the team is actually a good thing. And I tend to agree a little bit.
That seems insane.
You think it's insane?
That seems insane to me.
Yeah. So you were unavailable for our show on Thursday when we went over the Grizzlies trade deadline, and you were upset by it. I got to say, I'll let you know that I am not super upset by it in a whole. But what's your takeaway from the Grizzlies trade deadline? This return for Marc Gasol, and then getting Avery Bradley for the Garrett Temple and JaMychal Green.
If you stare at the Grizzlies roster before and after the trade deadline, and you're somehow able to ignore the fact that the only, all-star caliber player on your team is gone from the roster looks better. Like, if you just look at it and you're like looking at an NBA 2K roster or a fantasy team roster, you're like, oh, this is better now.
Yeah.
But if you are a Memphis Grizzlies fan and the team's identity was something you were proud of and something that you felt you could get behind, this is not even the Memphis Grizzlies. It's not even identifiable. I do not think they're, outside of Mike and Jaren, would you say there's a C defender amongst the rotation now?
Yeah, well, I think, Kyle Anderson is above a C defender.
I do really like Kyle Anderson, and Kyle Anderson will have to carry a lot of weight for me if I'm going to continue on this path. I'm
curious to watch. I mean, I guess I'm stuck with it, Stockholm Syndrome style, curious to watch what Avery Bradley does, a guy who he gets credit for fighting through screens, but like his defensive numbers are always kind of terrible. So like, I will say,
it seems like he just has fallen apart. There was a time where he was really good.
Well, offensively, I know he's just been atrocious, but I'm intrigued by the combination of Kyle Anderson, Justin Holiday, Avery Bradley, Mike Conley. Like, I think those are all at least C defenders. So I'm not worried as much about that. They're all low usage, horrible offensive players. Like, that's
I just feel like man, I was kind of hoping Justin Holiday would be out of the rotation, but I guess not. That's another trade I think was really weird. Like, giving up picks to get a guy who I don't know if he's better than the guy they let go in Wayne Selden.
Oh, right. No,
I just don't know.
That part's real weird, but that was them paying 2 picks to undo the weirdness of accidentally not trading them.
I mean, we're always doing weird picks to undo weirdness of like I remember the John Lure trade being confounding. But okay, here's the biggest problem.
Yep.
And here, the reason I still cling to college basketball sometimes is I enjoy when teams employ a different style of basketball.
Yep.
And being able to cling to the Grizzlies doing things their own way and being, a change up in a league full of, 7 seconds or less pace and space basketball. I think that is probably gone.
So I think an argument for what the front office did at the trade deadline is, if you do consider that aspect of the Grizzlies of trying to do things differently than everyone else does. If you want to argue in favor of the trade deadline trades, they valued getting actual basketball players over getting future assets as far as draft picks. And part of that gets overlooked, I think, by a lot of the people who are always like, let's just collect. Well, I'm saying, like, you're saying, would you rather have a couple second round picks or an Avery Bradley? And most people, I think, the popular opinion has grown to, I'd rather have second round picks, but or like a Delon Wright or a Jonas Valanciunas. So Jonas Valanciunas is, I think, he's not cheap. Hilariously,
No.
Mike Wallace from Grind City Media said he's probably going to opt out to get a bigger contract. Are you insane?
That's not possible.
Yeah.
Who's going? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, Jonas Valanciunas is like you're getting 60% of Marc Gasol for like 66% of the price, which is okay. And so,
and that's purely statistically, because I think as a player, maybe human being, you're getting like that's a very that is an extremely low effort defender, Keith.
I think I think he's just not gifted defensively, but he's like really weirdly good at like post up basketball, which
He's
which
an awesome offensive.
Which is I know is a dying art, but for a team that's going to win 35 games, that doesn't kill you. You know, it's always
also Keith, the way where he likes to play on the court is also terrible for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Well, so then I guess you extend it out. Although they've already announced, I think this part's weird. Bickerstaff, who obviously we don't think is a very good
let's not
game coach, but he's already announced that I think Jonas is going to come off the bench, which I think is like Ivan Rabb is going to start alongside Jaren Jackson Jr., which again makes it weird.
Ivan Rabb obsession is borderline Shelvin Mack level.
Well, I do like. Hey, I love Ivan Rabb, and the idea that
I like Ivan Rabb.
The idea that he hadn't been playing is just crazy again. But
are you hearing like the way the coaches talk about him? It's just like
no, I haven't.
It's like reading like Zalman King's Red Shoe Diaries, man. It's pretty. it's pretty out there.
Oh, I gotta get.
They describe his motor how erotica writers describe hindquarters. It's very
that's great.
So
I think adding just a player, like adding players for next year, CJ Miles, who's a veteran guy who's been on a terrible slump, this season, but like adding a CJ Miles, adding an Avery Bradley, adding a Jonas Valanciunas, those are just bringing in okay rotation players. And this is a thing I've argued against for a long time. My frustration with the Grizzlies was they stopped stocking the roster with just NBA guys. They started getting all these like random undrafted second round draft pick flyers. So if this team does want to build around Jaren Jackson Jr. next year, bringing in guys who we know are legitimate NBA guys, and another bonus to that is they have different sized salaries, which can then be used in making deals going forward in the future. So they've opened up some doors for the franchise to make deals next season or this summer.
What sucks?
Do what?
What sucks about being a Grizzlies fan is that you can make the same argument on both sides of this. Like you can make the argument that, well, with those draft picks, they're going to not draft the correct players.
Oh, right.
Correct. And then with what you're saying, you can say, oh, with these as tradable assets, they're going to make horrible franchise crippling trades.
Right.
Correct.
No. Yeah. We're still stuck behind the same front office that we don't trust. We're still stuck behind a coach who I don't think can put together an NBA game plan, knows how to best use his roster, knows how to adjust at games, knows how to not run out of timeouts. So still all of that exists, but I can come around to like they sent out older guys who weren't going to be around next year, 34-year-old Mark, however old Garrett Temple is, maybe 31, 32, and then JaMychal Green. And then they brought in guys a little bit younger. They brought in a 26-year-old Valanciunas, a 26-year-old Delon Wright, assuming they can, because that's a guy who might actually take his qualifying offer next year, and not even sign an extension. So I don't know. It adds depth to the team. It gives them an option to maybe improve next year, and it gives them a pretty decent shot to maybe hit that over, John. That's important to me.
You're out of your mind. Oh,
I think we're only
for me, like, and this is like, and I realize like lots of people who would hear someone talk about this would probably think this is kind of revolting, but I'm like seriously at a point in fandom where I am considering abandoning said fandom.
Oh, so you're in a very dark place.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would almost be irresponsible to keep supporting this team.
So,
like all the things that I loved about it,
are
gone.
Right.
In fact, hilariously, my least favorite of the good Grizzlies of all time is Mike Conley.
Oh, okay. I think that's probably that's probably a common opinion. I think.
Yeah, and not because Mike Conley's a great player.
Yeah.
But Mike Conley, he does none of the things that I enjoy in basketball. I love either hard-nosed, gritty play or like really inventive passing.
Right, and he's not.
And Mike's just like
a good passer at all.
You know, yeah, he's just like a guy who gets it done, but there's zero flash.
Yeah.
You know, like and amongst my favorite Grizzlies ever is Jason Williams, who sucked, but could knock passes with his elbow.
Yeah.
You know,
Jason Williams was one of my first favorite Grizzlies when he was,
Right. So, you know, it's kind of like, and I still love Kyle Anderson and Jaren Jackson Jr., and I like these players, but I don't love them any more than I love, say, you know, let's talk about like there's players on the Clippers or the Kings that I enjoy as much as them.
Okay, so you're
I don't
feeling
have
a serious loss of connection with this team.
Yeah, I don't have. There's not a player on there I identify with. I have no faith in the front office's ability to do anything. I feel like it could get worse.
Yeah,
you know, like I feel like it's the worst organization in the league.
Right. I feel like there's just a bunch of weirdness. Now I'm like seeing this other name of the front office guy who's actually calling the shots. Like some of the other reporters are being like, it isn't Chris Wallace. It's now this guy who's doing this stuff. And that stuff gets so old to me. And
I also don't believe it.
Uh-huh.
Because I just these all feel so Chris Wallace.
They do feel Chris Wallace. Like, so I'm in the situation where I don't feel at a risk to lose my fandom, but I just get more and more frustrated, and it feels like the Lucy and Charlie Brown in the football. Like I don't get, I came up with the optimistic take on the trades, but it's like I don't trust them to do the right stuff, really. You know,
when you get cornered, Keith, you're a pretty optimistic person.
Yeah, probably so.
Because like when we did the over under this year,
yeah.
I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but like. To me, it felt like this building was burning down.
I mean, my preseason wins prediction was 34. So, I mean,
right.
I'm not.
You're not out of your mind.
Yeah. I wasn't overly optimistic. And that was all, that was based on doubts about the front office. That's all that was. Doubts about the coaching, like seeing them in preseason. So I'm in the situation where I'm just downgrading. I'm moving my tickets. Like I'm no longer just spending tons of money. I'm like, no, I will stick with it. But I'm going nosebleed because, like, I'm done.
This is definitely not a team because this is a team I would make. You know, my 4-hour sojourns. There goes my whole weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Trips to go see, and I would try to plan trips where I could even catch multiple games. You know, and now I cannot even like. So I'm going to Memphis this weekend.
Right.
For other reasons.
Are you
magical reasons.
Oh yeah, you're playing some Magic.
Yes, the Grand Prix.
That's outstanding. We do you got
to remember, Keith. I'm coming to this from a champion's perspective, a competitor's perspective,
right?
So, and if there was a Grizzlies game this weekend, I would think about going and probably not go.
That's sad.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I'm the guy who I would go see like Grizzlies versus the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
Because I was going to go see like, you know, Mike, Mark, Zebo, and Tony slap each other's butts and go crazy. And there's a chance we might hold them to 78 points. And, you know, and that arena would get swinging, you know.
Yeah, it's tough.
When we'd start whooping that trick, it was insane. It was like some of those games against the Warriors are about as much fun as you can have at a sporting event.
Yeah,
and that stuff is so far in the rearview mirror that I can't. It's a perfect storm too, because Penny Hardaway's coaching the Memphis Tigers. I know this is an incredibly Memphis-centric episode, but when college basketball is good in the city of Memphis, look out.
Yeah, I'm looking back to that Warriors series and how I've talked about this before, how I understood that was the apex of the franchise. Like I was at the game 3, the Mike Conley Mats game where the Grizzlies go up 2-1 on the Warriors, second round of the playoffs. And I soaked it in being like, this is more than likely the best moment of Grizzlies fandom, but it is striking and stark how much it's fallen off. It's just been downhill from then.
It was fast.
It went so quick. And that's, again, where I'm mad about the front office, where they squandered the year, like the last years of Mike and Mark being good, which is craziness. So I am upset, but I am in no risk. I'm still in no risk. I feel like picking another team. I'm still like, oh, whatever. This is my team. I'm going to spend less money on them. We're still going to have a watch party next Friday on February 22nd at the Mainstay. But,
I've always been more of a basketball. So like I said, when I came to the Grizzlies, I've sort of been NBA vagabond. I've had dalliances of actual fandom with the Celtics and Hawks as a kid.
Right.
And then I just kind of was just an NBA, and the Hawks chased me off with far lesser transgressions than this.
Yeah.
And the Hawks chased me off where I was like, I can't watch this team anymore. This is stupid. What am I doing? And the Grizzlies got me with style of play, coaching, and then they really had me, like, because the Zebo and Mark and Tony Allen and Mike, they had me hook, line, and sinker. Never missed a game. Now I'm taping games and and I'll catch myself fast forwarding some, when it's like, oh dear God, look at this lineup, and it's just not the same. And we have an NBA podcast, so I'm pretty much bound to watch as much as I can. I'm really considering, like, this is a part where, okay, I'll watch the Grizzlies like I watch the rest of the league.
Oh,
and for my mental health, that might be good.
Right.
And I'm wondering what it will do to my soul to abandon a team like this. But I don't know. It might be completely free. It's an actual consideration I have.
So
also would free up some wardrobe that I'm kind of ashamed of.
A lot of that. This is parent related, like me now having children. But I haven't rewatched a Grizzlies game in 2 years. I used to rewatch every single game.
Keith, I'm telling you, that is not parent related.
Yeah,
I used to watch the Grizzlies game at night.
Right.
Now, mind you, I was drinking, having a good time, usually had a friend over running my mouth. The next day, as I was convalescing from the night before, I would rewatch the game.
Yeah.
And it was a joy. And it got to be where we knew the player, like we knew which direction Jared Bayless would never go. You knew there were certain play sets that like the Grizzlies were going to score on if they ran this play set.
Yeah. And
now, like, that's really gone.
And now we're watching, just being like, wait, is our defensive strategy really to leave the short corner open? Like, are they really just rotating away from the guy in the short corner every single time? Like, that's insane.
If a team runs horns against us, they win.
All right.
They win.
John, to wrap up, what's
I could do this all day.
I got to go to work. That's why I'm sitting in a car right now with a microphone balanced on a steering wheel.
I'm also sitting in a car. I was at my dad's doctor's office, and there's like an office cat that never stops meowing. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it.
What's your hope for the pick this season? I've been public that I want them to finish 9th, where they have a 20% chance of top 4, and then otherwise they convey it. But some other people are like, this is stupid. Let's just get our pick, or let's let's not try to win games. What's your take this season?
I cannot do the lose games thing. Like, the only time I've ever been able to do it was when I talked myself into this is just like the Spurs when they got to tank 1 year and then had Duncan and Robinson. Like, when Mike and Mark were hurt, I could get into the tank stuff, but I can't do that now. This team, if it's going to ever be a team again, needs to progress. So I'm with you, win some games. Plus, as we've seen, the Grizzlies have been locked, quote unquote, locked into the top spot 3 times.
Yeah.
And did not. I mean, we picked 4th once. I mean, 2nd, and then drafted good Lord Hasheem Thabeet.
Yeah. No, and I feel like everyone's missing that. Even the teams at the top, the Cavaliers and the Knicks, who play on Monday night, that's a combined 30 straight losses going into that one. Even if you finish with the worst record, you're still a coin flip to pick 5th. I feel like I feel like no teams are understanding that the lottery odds are flat. Like, why are you guys all tanking? It doesn't help you at all for the top one. But anyway, all right.
Man, I do not know. if you want to try to talk me into Grizz fandom, just talk about the Cavs and the Knicks a little more, because I don't know if those teams know. They may think they are tanking, but good luck not tanking.
Yeah, I still think we get hung up on our front office. That's bad. I still think, we're not the Suns. We're not the Knicks.
We're safely top 5.
We're not the Wizards. I don't think we're the Bulls. Like, the Cavaliers got tons for trading away all the guys they traded away. They got like 6 second rounders and 2 first round picks for Rodney Hood, Kyle Korver, and George Hill. Or something. So,
say what we got from Mark again. Say it aloud.
We got a 2024 second-round pick. This is after the wheels have fallen off the Masai Ujiri train in Toronto. That's an undervalued asset, John. We got DeLon Wright, a lengthy, mature NBA point guard prospect, can play off the ball with Mike. We got CJ Miles, veteran leader, a shooter, a guy I wanted the team to sign 2 years ago. He's a career shooter.
I don't think CJ Miles can be categorized as a shooter anymore.
And we got Jonas Valanciunas, who is just a giant teddy bear. Wonderful human being.
Have to. Chris Wallace must have some lusty thoughts about Jonas.
I think Jonas is going to be beloved in Memphis. I don't love that we're bringing him off the bench, but I don't think
that's going to happen.
They've said Ivan Rabb and Jaren Jackson are going to keep starting.
We've said all kinds of crazy stuff. I know this was Fizdale, but we've said a lot of our organization says a lot of things. It'll be very difficult to, as a franchise, keep the new toy on the bench, and he will put up numbers.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you know this, John, Chandler Parsons, baby, he's coming back.
His gambit failed.
Yeah, he realized he can't do anything but play. Well, John,
the Parsons gambit has the Gordian knot he weaved has been cut.
I hope you stick it out deeply in Grizz fandom with me. It's been a bumpy ride, but
I'll be taking suggestions from fans on social media and in the Patreon only Slack chat.
Yeah, condolences, buddy. We'll get through this.
I will be taking the temperature of Memphis while I'm there this weekend, by the way.
That sounds great. Do some John on the street video.
I will be the rectal thermometer that we needed.
That's perfect.
I will find out. I will get in deep into the dark depths.
All right. Well, thanks, John. Thanks you guys for listening. If you want more content, go to patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at fastbreakbreak. All right. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Adios.
Yeah, never apologize for being G&G. Fair break, man. You understand?